Welcome back to our YouTube channel, Buddhism and Life. Today, we will explore an interesting and mysterious story about the trap of overthinking, how Buddhist wisdom can set you free. Let's dive into the story together. Have you ever felt trapped inside your own mind? A prisoner of thoughts that spiral endlessly, pulling you back to past regrets? Or forward into fears of an uncertain future? The mind, like a restless ocean, churns with waves of doubt and anxiety, making it impossible to see what lies beneath. But what if there was a way to still the waters? What if clarity was not something we had to chase, but something that had been within us all along? For thousands of years, Buddhist wisdom has served as a guiding light through the storm of overthinking. It is not just philosophy, it is a way of seeing, a way of being, a way of breaking free. But what keeps us shackled to these endless thoughts? What force within us magnifies our suffering and binds us to an illusion we cannot escape? And most importantly, how do we free ourselves from this cycle? The answers may not be what you expect, but once you hear them, you may never look at your thoughts the same way again. The illusion of problem solving, a mind trapped in a labyrinth. In the depths of the mind, where thoughts weave a ceaseless web of contemplation, there exists a perilous illusion, a belief that excessive thinking leads to perfect decisions. Many fall victim to this deception, convinced that by dissecting every detail, they will uncover the ultimate truth. Yet, like a traveler lost in a mist-laden maze, the more they analyze, the more convoluted the path becomes. Overthinking does not illuminate the road ahead. Instead, it casts shadows upon clarity, distorting perception and plunging the soul into an abyss of endless doubt. The mirage of control. Picture a pond in the heart of an ancient forest, its surface smooth as polished jade, reflecting the moon's silver glow. This is the state of a mind at peace, clear, undisturbed, receptive to truth. But introduce a single pebble, and ripples distort the reflection. Toss in a handful, and the image shatters into chaos. Overthinking is akin to hurling stones into still waters, hoping to see more clearly. Instead of bringing answers, it churns the depths, raising murk from below, obscuring what was once evident. The more the mind struggles for control, the more it sinks into confusion. Have you ever replayed a conversation in your mind, dissecting every word, every inflection? At first, it seems like clarity is within reach. But then, like ink spilled upon parchment, the thoughts begin to spread. What if I had said this instead? Did they mean something more? Should I have reacted differently? Soon, the mind is no longer in the present but trapped in the labyrinth of imagined realities, none of which are real. The Buddha spoke of the turbulent ocean, its waters tossed by storm and wind. When the waves rage, the depths are hidden, but when the tempest fades, and the waters rest, all that lies beneath becomes visible. The lesson is simple. A mind in turmoil cannot see the truth. A mind that does not rest conjures phantoms, problems that do not exist, dangers that are mere whispers in the wind, outcomes that are mere figments of fear. The foolish traveler and the fork in the road. There is a story, whispered among the monks of old, about a man who journeyed through a vast and untamed forest. The trees stood like silent sentinels, their ancient limbs twisting toward the sky. The underbrush murmured with unseen life. In the distance, the wind carried the call of unknown creatures, neither welcoming nor hostile, merely watching. The traveler came upon a fork in the road. Two paths stretched before him, one veering left, the other right. They both vanished into the shadows of the forest, offering no hint of what lay beyond. He hesitated. What if the left path leads to danger? He pondered. But what if the right path is even worse? He tried to peer into the distance, but the forest revealed nothing. So, he stood there, and he thought. Minute by minute, the day passed. The sun arched overhead, then began its descent. The sky bled into hues of crimson and indigo. The traveler's thoughts twisted and turned like serpents in his mind. What if there were wolves on one path? What if the other led to a river he could not cross? What if both were perilous? What if neither was? Yet, the sun did not wait for his decision. Darkness crept into the land, swallowing the paths before him. And so, the traveler remained where he stood, paralyzed by indecision, until the night consumed him. He had sought the safest choice. In the end, he had chosen none. And because of this, he was left vulnerable, alone, stranded, and at the mercy of the unknown. The lesson? Overthinking is worse than making the wrong choice. Indecision is a slow poison. The longer one remains in the realm of overanalysis, the deeper the roots of fear grow, until even the simplest step forward feels impossible. Life does not pause while we deliberate. The sun does not halt its descent. The winds do not cease their course. The moment we linger too long in our thoughts, we allow the future to pass us by. The nature of overthinking, the snare of the mind. Overthinking is not merely an excess of thought. It is a trap, an illusion crafted by the mind to create the feeling of control while delivering the opposite. The belief that one can think their way out of uncertainty is a cruel trick. In truth, excessive analysis fosters inaction, and inaction invites suffering. A warrior who spends too long choosing his weapon falls before battle even begins. A scholar who doubts every word he writes never finishes his book. A wanderer who hesitates at every crossroad never reaches his destination. The Buddha taught that wisdom is not found in endless thought, but in stillness and clarity. When we trust the present moment, we free ourselves from the weight of imaginary fears. The turbulent ocean settles, the mist fades, and the path, once invisible, is revealed. But first, one must step forward. The root of overthinking, the twin shadows of fear and desire. In the silent corridors of the mind, where thoughts coil like restless serpents, two forces weave the tangled web of overthinking, fear and desire. They are ancient specters, unseen yet omnipresent, guiding our thoughts into endless loops of hesitation and longing. Fear whispers, "What if you choose wrongly?" Desire murmurs, "If only things had been different." Together, they keep the mind ensnared in a ceaseless struggle, one reaching toward an uncertain future, the other clinging to a past already beyond grasp. The chains of fear. A mind lost in the shadows. Fear is an invisible jailer, binding the soul in unseen chains. It feeds on the unknown, growing stronger with every unanswered question, every undecided path. A traveler stands before a door, its surface marked with strange symbols, its edges worn by time. He reaches for the handle, then hesitates. What lies beyond? A sanctuary? A snare? The longer he lingers, the more his mind conjures horrors. He imagines shadows moving behind the door, the echoes of unseen dangers whispering his name. The more he thinks, the more the door transforms, not into an opportunity, but a barrier he dares not cross. This is the nature of overthinking born from fear. The mind, desperate to avoid missteps, instead creates an endless labyrinth where no path feels safe, where every decision feels like an irreversible curse. But the Buddha taught that suffering is not in the event itself, but in our resistance to it. Fear magnifies reality, turning choices into battlegrounds and uncertainty into torment. The only way to break free is not to seek absolute certainty, but to accept uncertainty as part of the journey. The chains of desire. A mind bound to the past. If fear is an iron shackle that holds us back, desire is a golden chain that keeps us looking behind. The mind, craving perfection, replays past moments like an old film reel, seeking a way to rewrite what has already been etched into time. It whispers, "If only I had said something different. If only I had chosen another path. If only I could go back and change it." But the past is like water spilled upon ancient stone, it cannot be gathered back. Picture a river reflecting the golden hues of twilight. Its surface ripples with memories, and a lone figure stands at its edge, reaching down, trying to cup the water in their hands. No matter how tightly they grasp, the water slips through their fingers, leaving them with nothing but the ache of what was once there. Desire is an illusion of control, a futile attempt to reshape the unchangeable. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering, not just attachment to things, but to thoughts, to outcomes, to the idea that we could have controlled what was never truly in our hands. True liberation comes not from fixing the past, but from letting it dissolve. The heavy stone. A mind that refuses to let go. Imagine you are standing in a barren landscape, the wind howling across an endless horizon. In your hands, you grip a rope, a thick, frayed cord, leading to a massive stone that lies behind you. The stone is heavy. It presses into the earth, unmoving, yet you pull at it. You dig your heels into the dirt, straining against its weight, refusing to let go. The harder you pull, the more the tension builds. The more your body aches, the more exhaustion creeps into your bones. Why do you not release the rope? Because your mind believes that holding on is necessary. It believes that if you just pull a little harder, you will move the stone. You will change the past. You will control what was always uncontrollable. But the truth is simple. The stone does not move. It never will. And yet, the moment you let go of the rope, the burden disappears. Overthinking works the same way. The weight we feel is not from the situation itself, but from our refusal to release it. Letting go is not an act of weakness. It is the ultimate act of wisdom. The story of the two arrows, how the mind multiplies pain. The Buddha once told a parable of a man struck by an arrow. The pain was sharp, piercing, unavoidable. But then, before he could even react, a second arrow struck the exact same wound, doubling his suffering. The first arrow was inevitable pain, the hardships of life, the difficulties that all must endure. But the second arrow? That was self-inflicted suffering, the overthinking, the regret, the mental turmoil that amplifies pain beyond its original form. The first arrow is losing a job. The second arrow is endlessly replaying the situation, blaming yourself, imagining how things could have gone differently. The first arrow is a friend betraying your trust. The second arrow is dwelling on their words, imagining their motives, questioning your own worth. Most suffering does not come from what happens to us, but from what we tell ourselves about it. The mind is both the wound and the weapon. To remove the second arrow, one must step away from the mind's illusions, the belief that thinking more will ease the pain, the illusion that we can rewrite the past or control the future. The path to peace is found in a simple truth. Accept what is, release what was, embrace what comes. The whisper of the wind, a mind at peace. In the deep hours of the night, when the world is silent and the air is still, there is a moment, a fleeting, delicate moment, when the mind, if left undisturbed, finds peace. It is the pause between thoughts, the space between breaths, the quiet place where fear and desire dissolve into nothingness. The Buddha understood this secret, the truth hidden beyond the noise of overthinking. The mind is a sky, and thoughts are only passing clouds. They come, they go, but the sky remains unchanged. Fear grips like an iron fist. Desire pulls like a golden chain. But in the end, both are illusions, mere whispers in the wind. The moment we stop chasing, stop grasping, stop clinging to thoughts like lifelines in a storm, that is the moment clarity is found. Not in control, not in worry, but in the stillness beyond. How to break free from overthinking, the path to mental clarity. The mind is a restless entity, ceaselessly weaving intricate webs of thought, each thread spun from past regrets or future anxieties. Trapped within this endless cycle, we become prisoners of our own consciousness, mistaking mental noise for wisdom. But the Buddha, in his boundless insight, revealed a way to untangle the mind, allowing us to step beyond the illusions of overthinking. 1. Observe your thoughts like clouds in the sky. The sky stretches vast and infinite above the world, a silent witness to the passage of time. Some days, it is clear, an endless expanse of blue unmarred by turbulence. On others, dark clouds roll across its surface, heavy with the promise of storms. The Buddha likened the mind to this sky, and our thoughts to drifting clouds. They come and go, forming and dissolving without permanence. Yet, like a child watching the sky, we often become mesmerized, mistaking passing shapes for something greater, a prophecy, a truth, an inescapable fate. To free ourselves from overthinking, we must learn to watch our thoughts as if they were clouds drifting across the sky. Neither chasing nor resisting them, but simply observing. Try this. The next time your mind is tangled in endless loops, pause, take a deep breath, and say to yourself, "This is just a thought. I do not have to believe it." Feel the weight of those words. Realize that just as the wind carries the clouds away, time will carry your thoughts if you do not cling to them. 2. Label your thoughts instead of identifying with them. A man walks through a forest at dusk, his path uncertain. In the dimming light, he sees a figure ahead, its shape twisting in the half-light. His breath quickens. Is it a wild beast? A ghostly apparition? He hesitates, the fear growing with each heartbeat. But as he steps closer, the shape resolves itself, a tree, its branches reaching out in harmless stillness. The terror vanishes, replaced by relief. This is the nature of the mind. It distorts, it deceives, It paints illusions over reality. And in doing so, it binds us to suffering. When we say, "I am a failure," we carve that identity into ourselves, making it real. When we whisper, "I will never succeed," we plant the seed of inevitability. But the Buddha, in his wisdom, taught that we are not our thoughts, we are merely observers of them. To break free, we must learn to label our thoughts rather than be consumed by them. Instead of declaring, "I am failing," say, "I am having a thought about failure." Instead of whispering, "I will never succeed," say, "This is a passing worry." Nothing more. By naming thoughts rather than absorbing them, we weaken their grip. A thought labeled is a shadow, vague, menacing. A thought labeled is a candle flame, small, contained, fleeting, free. Focus on what you can control. The river flows ceaselessly, carving its path through mountains, bending around obstacles, never pausing to fight against the earth that shapes it. It does not rage against the rocks, it moves past them. It does not curse the fallen branches in its way. It carries them forward until they are gone. The Buddha once said, "If you can change something, why worry? If you cannot change it, why worry?" Worry is the mind's illusion of control, a desperate attempt to bend reality through thought alone. Yet, no amount of mental resistance can stop the river from flowing, the sun from setting, or time from passing. If something is within your control, take action. If something is beyond your control, release it. Most overthinking arises from clinging to things we cannot change, a past decision, another person's thoughts, an uncertain future. But the energy spent in worry is wasted breath. Shift your focus to what you can influence, and let the rest be carried away by time. The mind unchained. The restless mind is like a bird trapped in a cage of its own making, its wings beating furiously against invisible walls. But the key to freedom was never lost, it has always been within reach. By observing thoughts without attachment, by labeling them instead of becoming them, and by focusing only on what is within our control, we unlock the door. And when the door opens, the mind soars, unburdened, into a sky vast and infinite, where worries are nothing more than passing clouds. The ultimate lesson: letting go brings freedom. A river flows through the heart of an ancient forest, its waters weaving between moss-covered stones and gnarled roots. The surface is ever moving, shifting with the whims of the wind, reflecting the silver glow of the moon above. Yet, no matter how swiftly it moves, the river does not hold onto a single drop. It does not grasp at the fallen leaves that drift upon it, nor does it cling to the reflections that dance across its surface. It simply flows, untouched, unburdened, free. The Buddha compared thoughts to flowing water. They are meant to pass, to come and go like the river's endless current. Yet, humans resist this natural rhythm. We grasp, cling, demand control, trying to shape the water with our hands, only to find it slipping through our fingers. The more we struggle to hold onto thoughts, the more they overwhelm us, turning from gentle ripples into raging torrents, drowning us in their depths. But just as the river does not resist its nature, neither must we resist our thoughts. If we allow them to pass without attachment, they lose their power. But if we try to control, suppress, or alter them, they multiply, wrapping around the mind like ivy on an ancient ruin, suffocating all that remains. The burning coal, the fire that burns the hand that holds it. Long ago, a young disciple, tormented by the relentless storms of his thoughts, approached the Buddha. His voice was thick with desperation. "Master," he pleaded, "how can I free myself from suffering? My mind is restless, filled with thoughts that I cannot silence. They haunt me, no matter how hard I try to push them away." The Buddha, seated beneath a great Bodhi tree, looked upon the disciple with eyes that had seen the suffering of countless beings. He picked up a small burning coal from the fire before him and placed it gently in the disciple's palm. "Hold it tightly," the Buddha said. The disciple obeyed. Instantly, pain seared through his skin, the fire biting into his flesh. His body tensed, his face twisted in agony. Yet he did not release the coal. His hands trembled, his breath quickened, and still, he held on. "Why do you continue to hold it?" the Buddha asked. The disciple gasped, "Because you told me to." The Buddha nodded, his voice as calm as the night sky. "And yet, you are the one who suffers." With that, the disciple opened his palm and the coal fell to the earth, vanishing into the embers below. At that moment, A great clarity washed over him. He had been the one clinging to his pain. The fire had never sought to harm him. He had harmed himself by refusing to let go. Overthinking is like holding a burning coal. It is not the thought itself that brings pain, but our unwillingness to release it. We clutch our worries, our regrets, our imagined fears, even as they scorch our souls. But the moment we open our hands, the pain dissolves. The art of letting go. Watching the fire without touching it. In the depths of an ancient temple, a candle flickers in the darkness, its flame dancing with the wind. A monk sits before it, watching, unmoving. He does not try to capture the flame, nor does he try to extinguish it. He simply observes, allowing it to be, knowing that in time, it will fade on its own. This is the secret to true freedom from overthinking. When a thought arises, do not fight it, do not chase it, do not push it away, do not grasp it as if it defines you. Simply watch it, like a fire burning in the distance, like clouds drifting through the sky, like water flowing in an endless stream. It will pass. Letting go does not mean suppressing thoughts. It does not mean silencing the mind by force. It means allowing thoughts to exist without resistance, without attachment, without fear. The river does not hold onto a single drop. The fire does not cling to its embers. And neither must we hold onto the thoughts that pass through our minds. For in letting go, we find the greatest peace. Our minds create both our suffering and our liberation. The thoughts that haunt us are nothing more than shadows on the walls of a cave, illusions we mistake for reality. But once we turn toward the light, the shadows vanish. What have you discovered today? Did something in this journey resonate with you? Let us know in the comments below, because every shared insight has the power to awaken another. And if you feel the call to explore deeper, to untangle the threads of thought and see the world with new eyes, then join us. Subscribe to Buddhism in Life and continue this path toward wisdom, clarity, and freedom. Your mind is waiting. The question is, are you ready to set it free? Thank you so much for watching our video until the end.